I don't believe it's a coincidence that you're listening to this today. Maybe you've been carrying more than you've told anyone. Maybe you've been searching for peace, direction, or simply a reminder that God is still with you. Whatever brought you here, my prayer is that as we meditate on Psalm 23, your heart will be encouraged, your faith will be strengthened, and you'll be reminded of one unchanging truth. The shepherd has not forgotten his sheep. Let's begin. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. Those 6 words have comforted believers for generations. They've been whispered in hospital rooms, read at weddings, quoted at funerals, prayed by people who had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But here's something many people don't realize. David didn't write these words from a place of perfect comfort. He wrote them as a man who knew what it felt like to face uncertainty. Before David became a king, he was a shepherd. Long before people sang songs about his victories, he spent quiet days in the fields, watching over sheep that depended on him for everything. He knew their habits. He knew their fears. He knew that sheep are not naturally strong animals. They're easily frightened. They wander. They lose their way. And if a shepherd doesn't guide them, they often cannot find their way back on their own. Years later, after all David had experienced, the victories, the failures, the waiting, the dangers, he looked back over his own life and realized something remarkable. He had never truly been walking alone, just as he had cared for his sheep. God had been caring for him. That's why he doesn't begin by saying, "The Lord is a shepherd." He says, "The Lord is my shepherd." One small word, my. It's personal. David isn't talking about a distant God. He's talking about a shepherd who knows him by name. A shepherd who walks with him through ordinary days and difficult seasons alike. And that's the first truth Psalm 23 wants us to hold on to. God doesn't simply care about people in general. He cares about you. He knows the thoughts you've never spoken aloud. He knows the prayer you've prayed over and over. He knows the disappointment you're still trying to understand. He knows the decision you're struggling to make. Nothing about your life is hidden from him. Sometimes we convince ourselves that because God is caring for billions of people, our concerns must be too small to matter. But that's not how a shepherd thinks. A shepherd notices when even one sheep wanders. Jesus himself spoke of leaving the 99 to search for the one that was lost. Not because the 99 were unimportant, but because every sheep mattered. Every life mattered. If you've ever wondered whether God sees you, Psalm 23 begins with the answer. Yes, he does. The Lord is your shepherd. David continues, I shall not want. Now, this doesn't mean believers will never face hardship. David certainly did. He experienced loss. He knew fear. He faced betrayal. There were seasons when he lived in caves instead of palaces. There were moments when he had to wait patiently for God's promises. So what did he mean? He meant that when the Lord is your shepherd, you can trust him to provide what you truly need. Not always everything you wish for, but everything you need to walk faithfully with him. Think about the shepherd again. The sheep don't know where tomorrow's pasture is. They simply follow the shepherd. The shepherd already knows. Perhaps that's where many of us struggle. We want God to show us the entire journey. He often invites us to trust him for the next step. Faith isn't seeing the whole road. Faith is trusting the one who does. Maybe today you've been worrying about tomorrow, wondering how everything will work out, trying to solve problems that haven't even happened yet. Psalm 23 gently reminds us that our peace doesn't come from having every answer. It comes from knowing the shepherd. Because when you know the shepherd, you can trust his direction, even when the path ahead isn't completely clear. Psalm 23 verse 2, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. As beautiful as these words are, They're even more powerful when you understand the picture David is painting. Imagine standing in a quiet field just before sunrise. The air is cool. The grass is covered with morning dew. The only sound is the gentle breeze and the soft movement of sheep following their shepherd. There is no panic, no rushing, no fear, just peace. David had seen this scene countless times. As a shepherd, he understood something that many of us don't. Sheep don't lie down just anywhere. In fact, shepherds often say there are several things that keep sheep from resting. If they sense danger, they stay on their feet. If they're hungry, they won't lie down. If they're thirsty, they keep searching. If they're anxious or disturbed, they remain restless. They only rest when they know they're safe. Think about that for a moment. How many nights have you laid down in bed, but never truly rested? Your body was still, but your mind wasn't. Your thoughts kept replaying conversations. You worried about tomorrow. You wondered how things were going to work out. You were physically in bed, but emotionally, you were still carrying the weight of the day. David says the shepherd does something remarkable. He maketh me to lie down. Notice he doesn't push the sheep. He doesn't frighten them into resting. He leads them to a place where rest becomes possible. Isn't that exactly what God does? He doesn't simply tell us, stop worrying. He invites us into His presence, where our hearts begin to find peace. Sometimes we pray for God to remove every difficult situation, but often, before He changes our circumstances, He changes our hearts. He reminds us that we are not facing tomorrow alone, that He is already there, that nothing catches Him by surprise. The green pastures David describes aren't only about provision, they're about trust. A sheep grazing peacefully isn't constantly looking over its shoulder. It trusts the shepherd to watch for danger. In the same way, when we place our lives in God's hands, we don't have to live in constant fear of what might happen next. That doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means we no longer carry the weight of life by ourselves. David continues, He leadeth me beside the still waters. Not rushing waters, not violent waters, still waters. Sheep are often afraid of fast-moving streams because they can easily lose their footing. A good shepherd knows where calm water can be found. David is showing us something about God's character. God doesn't delight in confusion. He brings peace. The world often pulls us in 100 different directions. There is always another headline, another notification, another reason to be anxious, another voice demanding our attention. But the shepherd's voice is different. He doesn't shout over the noise. He gently calls his sheep. And those who learn to recognize his voice discover a peace the world cannot manufacture. Maybe that's why you're here today. Maybe you've been searching for peace in success, in money, in people's approval, or in having every answer before taking the next step. Yet your heart still feels unsettled. Psalm 23 gently reminds us that peace isn't found in having a perfect life. Peace is found in staying close to the shepherd. The closer the sheep stayed to the shepherd, the safer they were. The farther they wandered, the more vulnerable they became. The same is true for us. The invitation of this verse is simple. Stay close. When life is uncertain, stay close. When prayers seem unanswered, stay close. When fear whispers that you're alone, stay close. Because the shepherd who leads you into green pastures also knows exactly where the still waters are. And perhaps today, more than anything else, your soul simply needs to rest beside those still waters. David continues, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Psalm 23, 3-5. David begins by saying, He restoreth my soul. There are moments in life when we're physically fine, but emotionally exhausted. We've carried disappointment, fear, or uncertainty for so long that our hearts become weary. David reminds us that God doesn't simply give us strength to survive. He restores us. He renews our hope, refreshes our spirit, and gently leads us back to Himself. Then David writes, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Notice he says through the valley. The valley isn't where the story ends. Every believer faces difficult seasons, but we never walk them alone. David's confidence wasn't that trouble would never come. His confidence was that the shepherd would never leave him. Finally, David says, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. God doesn't always remove every battle immediately, but He reminds us that His presence is greater than our circumstances. Even in difficult seasons, He continues to provide, protect, and care for His people. That's why David could end this part of the psalm with confidence, knowing that the shepherd was with him every step of the way. David ends the psalm by saying, Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23:6. What a beautiful way to end this chapter. David doesn't say, Maybe goodness and mercy will follow me. He says, Surely. That's the confidence that comes from walking with the shepherd. When David looked back on his life, he didn't only remember the battles he fought or the valleys he walked through. He also remembered God's faithfulness through every season. The same God who led him beside still waters never abandoned him in difficult times. The same shepherd who restored his soul continued to guide him every step of the way. And that same shepherd is still faithful today. No matter what season you're in, remember this. God's goodness is still at work, even when you can't yet see the full picture. His mercy is new every morning, and His presence remains with those who trust Him. As we leave Psalm 23 today, may we carry this truth with us. The Lord is our shepherd. He provides, He restores, He guides, He comforts, and He will never leave those who belong to Him. May His peace go with you today, and may your heart find rest in the loving care of the Good Shepherd.